You don't negotiate with titans, you schedule your breaths around them. The new empire opens with the planet doing exactly that, adjusting. Godzilla is an apex routine, a roaming corrective who sleeps in stadiums and wakes in tectonic moods, soaking up reactor heat like a morning coffee. Kong is the solitary counterpart in Hollow Earth, building a kingdom out of empty valleys and stone thrones no one's warmed in centuries. Two rulers, two realms, a ceasefire signed in scars, surface for the atomic king, underworld for the last great ape. Peace is not a plot, it's a pause. Humanity's role hasn't changed much. We're the species that names storms and then builds cities where they like to pass. Dr. Eileen Andrews keeps the bridge between worlds intact, protecting Gia, the last of the Iwi and the closest thing either Titan has to family. Bernie, the conspiracy podcaster, is still allergic to silence. Trapper, a pilot with affection for lost causes, flies like he's bargaining with gravity. Monarch watches, measures, and tries to pretend that policy can outvote instinct. The hook is a signal, an infrasonic call bleeding up from Hollow Earth like a submarine hymn. Gia hears it first as a pressure behind the eyes. It's not language yet, but it's intent. Titans don't ask for help, they announce a problem. When Godzilla pivots from hibernation straight into itinerary, Paris for a power-up, Rome for a nap, you feel the thesis. He's charging for something larger than a turf war. Kong, meanwhile, maps tunnels with the melancholy of a king without a court. And then he finds one, a tribe of simian titans who aren't myths, just neighbors you'd rather not have. Their leash, a tyrant called the Scar King. Hollow Earth is visual anthropology as survival manual. Bioluminescent forests, gravity on a whim, rivers that treat up and down like suggestions. The Iwi didn't disappear, they retreated to a hidden sanctuary with architecture old as the planet's patience. Gia's drawings echo their symbols, and that echo is plot, not poetry. Eileen follows the resonance with a scientist's dread and a parent's spine. If the call is for help, it's also a warning, something down there wants out. Enter the Scar King like a lesson in how power rots without ritual. He's Kong's size with an economy of mercy, lean muscle wrapped in cruelty, eyes that count before they judge. His weapon is culture, a whip forged from a frost-bound titan called Shimo, a creature of winter captured and coerced into serving heat. With Shimo chained, Scar has a climate button. He plans an exodus, smash the ceiling between worlds and colonize the surface. To a tyrant, paradise is any place where no one can say no. Kong's first clash with Scar is a diagnosis. He gauges reach, reads terrain, learns the rhythm of the whip and the wound behind it. He loses the opening exchange because information costs. He wins a smaller victory by stealing opportunity, freeing captives, studying the prisons, noting which pillars move if you push them and which are load-bearing lies. He also finds a surprise, a juvenile simian titan with blue eyes and faster feet. The kid isn't a sidekick, he's a mirror. Alone makes you strong, community makes you dangerous. On the surface, Godzilla treats cities like charging stations, shouldering human panic with the indifference of a mountain. He isn't angry, he's working. Any kaiju dumb enough to announce itself eats an atomic lesson. His dorsal plates shift color between bouts, a visual ledger of energy invested, interest accrued. Monarch reads the pattern and realizes the worst thing bureaucracies can realize: they are not the main character. Their best move is to guide civilians out of splash zones and keep the lights on where the big guy likes to nap. The human thread tightens around translation. Gia's visions align with Iwi prophecy: a great winter harnessed as leash, a red-handed king, a blue-eyed child, a door that must not open. Eileen understands the shape even if the nouns keep changing. Bernie turns lore into a flight plan. Trapper turns plan into propulsion. They hitch a ride through a Hollow Earth entry that's more myth than map and drop into a wilderness where the air remembers dinosaurs. The production design does heavy lifting, the script lets it. We are small in a world that never needed us. Skirmishes multiply. Kong trains the kid, he earns a name through action, not exposition, with frustration that registers as affection. He teaches footwork, patience, and the difference between fear that sharpens and fear that freezes. The kid teaches Kong something harder: how to fight for someone smaller, not just something bigger. They raid a Scar mine, snip chains on lesser beasts, and seed the idea of revolt in a culture built to kneel. Resistance is granular: one tool, one gate, one breath, and the movie respects that math. Back topside, Godzilla rips an aquatic titan off a nuclear sub and bathes in the reactor hum like a spa day, then sleeps in the Colosseum because symbolism is free. Each recharge makes him more neon, more myth. News chyrons argue over whether the king of the monsters is savior or storm. The narrative answers with behavior: he is an ecosystem's immune response. You don't thank your white blood cells, you give them space to work. Collision is inevitable because the Scar King's plan includes a breach point directly under a human city. The portal will open if Shimo's cold meets the crust just so, and the whip's resonance holds. Eileen, Gia, and company arrive as the ritual starts, scientists at the wrong church on the right day. They don't stop the portal by shooting it, they stop it by breaking the choir. Gia's bond with the Iwi links her to Shimo, turns pity into language, language into leverage. Shimo is not monster, Shimo is captive. Chains break louder than whips if you cut the right link. Kong vs. Scar vs. Godzilla isn't a triangle, it's a theorem. Initial contact is all misunderstanding and momentum. Kong barrel charging with fatherly rage, Godzilla arriving at atomic stride, both seeing red literally and figuratively. The choreography sells mass, concrete remembers where they step, but monsters learn. Kong signals, Godzilla recalibrates. The enemy is the one who enslaves winter and calls it strategy. When Shimo steps free and the temperature drops like a verdict, alliances gel without a handshake. The set piece that follows is a masterclass in cooperative violence. Godzilla tanks heat, bleeds shine, and times blast to stagger rather than kill, saving the sunburn for the moment that matters. Kong fights like a grappler who graduated from pain, using the whip against its maker, turning Scar's arrogance into throws the ground will remember. The kid threads between giants, stealing pins, yanking chains, leveraging speed against a bigger man's ego. Shimo, eyes unchained, stops being a weapon and starts being a weather system on the hero's side. Ice meets Atom, desert glass remembers how to sing. When the dust settles, the moral arithmetic is simple in the way good equations are. Scar falls because tyranny is brittle, break one input fear, the output control collapses. Shimo is free and owes no one allegiance. Winter returns to being a season, not a lever. Godzilla roars not as victory lap but as boundary setting. Surface remains his patrol. Kong sits on a throne that finally fits his back, not as a tyrant but as a caretaker with a tribe. The kid, let's call him Suko, the name some Iwi elders use, takes a place at Kong's side without needing blood to validate belonging. Family in Hollow Earth looks like practice, not promise. Humans go home with footage, a few bruised myths and an updated mission. Eileen learns that protecting Gia sometimes means letting her be the bridge instead of guarding her from it. Monarch updates a playbook that stops pretending we're in charge. Bernie gets content for a year and for once a story that doesn't require paranoia to be interesting. Trapper lands a craft that had no right to fly and laughs like a man who just survived a fable. The film closes on quiet sovereignty. Godzilla curls up in a power plant like a cat that can level continents. Kong teaches Suko how to listen to stone. The Iwi draw new murals because history just changed its tense. Gia sleeps and dreams without the pressure headache of an unanswered call. The planet exhales. That's all peace ever is around Titans, a breath you get to keep for a while.